Good afternoon. Welcome to Grade 12 English First Additional Language. Today we continue with a series of lessons on Macbeth. We are currently busy with Act 5 and we're going to look at Scene 3 and Scene 4 today. Please have your Macbeth book and notes with you that you can follow and add notes as I am explaining. It's a beautiful day to learn something new, so here we go. Act 5, Scene 3 Summary. Macbeth is in the castle of Dunsinane preparing for war. We've not seen him since his last visit to the witches, and we notice a further deterioration in his state of mind. He recalls the predictions of the apparitions and tries to convince himself that he is invulnerable. He realizes that he has lost his happiness and that he is not loved but feared by his followers. Informed of the approach of the English army, he prepares to fight but pauses to discuss Lady Macbeth's health with the doctor. Now, if you remember correctly, we ended our previous lesson when the Scottish thanes who have deserted Macbeth were on their way to meet Malcolm, Macduff and their English allies at Birnam Wood. Now, we're in Dunsinane, a room in the castle, Macbeth, a doctor and the attendants. So Macbeth is told here of the approaching enemies, the English army, and he remains defiant and he tries to convince himself that the witches' prophecies guarantee his safety. They gave him a false sense of security. He swings wildly in his moods from confidence to despair, from dull depression to a desperate determination. Now Macbeth starts with, "Bring me no more reports, let them fly all." When he says that, he refers to the rebel thanes who are deserting him and joined the enemy. His anger makes him reckless, and he says that as far as he is concerned, they can all leave. So he's very angry, but he persists in putting his faith in the witches' prophecies. He is recklessly confident that the witches' promise will be fulfilled. He says he will not let fear affect him until Birnam Wood marches towards Dunsinane. Neither does he fear Malcolm, as the witches promise that nobody born of a woman will be able to conquer or kill him. And he says there, "What's the boy Malcolm? Was he not born of a woman?" And obviously, Malcolm was born from a woman. And he concludes that his confidence and his courage will never weaken or be undermined. He says, "The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus." So he talks about those who knows everything that will happen to everyone in the future. So that is where he's recklessly confident that the witches' promises will be fulfilled. And then he says, "Then fly, false thanes." Those that he mentioned in the first one as well. It's all of those that has deserted him. "And mingle with the English epicures." Now let them join the self-indulgent, soft-living, luxury-loving English. This was something the hardy Scottish despised. So the word epicure means weak and decadent. At that moment, a servant enters, and he addresses the servant, "The devil damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon. Where goes thou that goose look?" So he vents his anger on everyone around him. A poor servant, pale with fear, enters to report that a force of 10,000 English soldiers has been sighted. Macbeth mocks his fear, calling him a coward and a fool. He makes fun of the servant's paleness. Now the servant is trying to say, there is 10,000, and then Macbeth interrupts him. "Geese, villain." "Soldiers, sir." And then Macbeth goes on again, go prick thy face and overred thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. Prick your face with pins to let blood cover up your paleness. And the lily-livered boy, the liver was thought to be the source of courage. So this poor servant's liver is white, according to Macbeth. He is a coward. And then he goes on, what soldiers? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counselors to fear. Say, may your soul be damned, and those cheeks of yours that are so white shows fear. It will put fear into the hearts of others too. What soldiers? Wave face. What soldiers? Pale face. So Macbeth shows exaggerated contempt for the servant's fear, as it inspires fear in other people too. It gives other people reason to be afraid too. Right, questions from previous papers. Fear not, Macbeth, no man that's born of woman shall ever have power upon thee. Now that is when he told the first slide that he spoke in this scene. Now discuss the irony of this. So Macbeth believes he cannot be killed by someone born of a woman, but Macbeth does not know that Macduff was not born in the natural way. He was born by caesarean section. Right, remember, when it's an irony question, you have to show both sides of the question. Your question must contain a but, your answer must contain a but or a yet. It's either 2 marks or 0. It's not a split mark. Be very important that you say how he thought it would be and how it actually was. So Macbeth believes he cannot be killed by someone born of a woman. That's what he thought. But in reality, he does not know that Macduff was not born in a natural way. He was born by caesarean section. As I said, 2 marks or 0. And then where he talked to the poor servant, where gotst thou that goose look? Explain the metaphor. So the servant is compared to a goose, which is actually white in color. So it's about the white color. His face has whitened because of the fear. And the goose is a cowardly animal, and he is compared to the servant. So it's all about the cowardice and the color. What does this part of the drama tell us about Macbeth? Now, this part of the drama, right? So we're only looking at what's going on. Now look at your mark allocation. It will influence the length of your answer. So we can say Macbeth is brave or fearless or disrespectful or self-centered or evil or gullible or naive, depressed, angry, stubborn. Right, it was obviously only for 1 mark because there's no motivation included in the memorandum. Right. Okay, so the servant goes on and he says the English force so please you. So he replies that he refers to the English army. Macbeth does not react to this message. He dismisses the servant and calls for Satan, his personal servant and armor bearer. He says, take thy face hence. So exit the servant. And then he says, Satan is calling him. And when he's alone, he says, I am sick at heart. So while Macbeth is waiting for Satan to come, he reveals his thoughts in a monologue. He has suddenly become depressed and gloomy. As he does not complete his sentence, it's not clear what the sight is that he refers to, either the frightened faces or the approach of the English army. And then he says, when I behold Satan, I say, this push, this attack, and then will cheer me ever or deceit me now. So this present crisis, this present attack will be decisive. It will either guarantee him the throne for the rest of his life or dethrone him immediately. He says that he is tired of life. Ironically, this is the life he chose for himself when he gave in to his ambition and began his descent into evil. So he changed the course of his life forever. But as I said, ironically, this is the life he chose for himself. And then he goes on, I have lived long enough My way of life is falling into the sea, the yellow leaf. So Macbeth compares his life to a leaf in autumn. His life has become dry and withered like the autumn leaf just before it falls. He feels as if he were approaching the end of his life. He's tired of a meaningless, loveless, friendless life. He admits that he finds very little joy in life. And he sounds a little self-pitying when he says that he will never have the things that old people normally enjoy at the end of a full, well-lived life. This is now here where he says, and that which should accompany old age as honor, love, obedience, troops of friends, I must not look to have, but in their stead, curses, not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not. And then he calls for Satan again. So he says the joys of old age will never be his. Instead, he will receive hypocritical honor and flattering words that are said but not meant. So he cannot expect to enjoy all the wonderful things one look forward to in old age. Instead, he will be hated intensely by people who will be too afraid to admit it. They will only pretend to respect him. So take note, Macbeth regrets having exchanged his spiritual values like respect, love, and friendship for things that have no lasting value. However, he does not show any true remorse for the murders he committed. Right. So Satan enters and he asks, what's your gracious pleasure? And Macbeth asks, what news more? And Satan says, all is confirmed, my lord, which was reported. That is obviously the 10,000 English soldiers that are approaching. And then Macbeth says, I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armor. So he calls for his armor, determined to die fighting in battle. Now he's calling for his armor, though the battle is still some time off. Right, questions from previous papers. Why is Macbeth sick at heart? So now there could be a few possible answers in the marking guidelines. These are only a few examples. Again, look at your mark allocation. Please, that will determine the length of your answer. Macbeth has lost his wife and she has been the one that has supported him throughout. He is worried about the battle, whether he's going to live or die. His soldiers are deserting him. He is depressed because he knows he's not surrounded by real love and loyalty, and he will not grow old surrounded by love. And he is supposed to be joyous because he is king, but he's only experiencing sorrow. The most common answer would be the one about the battle and the soldiers that are deserting him, and the fact that he knows he's not surrounded by real love and loyalty, and he will not grow old surrounded by love, because that is the situation he is in currently. And then discuss the theme deception, right? Now, the witches deceived Macbeth through their predictions. Now, if we look at the marking guidelines, we can deduct that the theme deception was asked applicable in the play as a whole. Remember, when you get a question like that, look for the key words. Look for the play as a whole, this scene or this extract. It will influence your answer greatly. In this case, it's the whole play, which is the easier answer because you have more options to answer. On the marking guidelines was the following. The witches deceived Macbeth through their predictions or prophecies, obviously. The witches only told Macbeth half-truths, equivocation, and he interpreted them to suit his own desires. Right. He is deceived when Birnam Wood moves towards Dunsinane, when the soldiers cut off branches to conceal their numbers. He is deceived when he believes he cannot be harmed by anyone of a woman born, as Macduff was not born naturally. but by caesarean section, and Macbeth is deceived by hypocritical followers. Right. Okay, here Satan answers Macbeth after he called for his armor, and he said it's not needed yet. Well, although Satan says it's too soon to put on his armor, Macbeth still insists. So he has become impatient and erratic. I'll put it on. Send out more horses. Scare the country round. So he orders that the countryside must be searched rapidly and thoroughly, and anybody who shows any fear or doubtful loyalty must be hanged. Right, so he is spreading fear around the countryside. Okay, hang those that talk of fear. And then again, give me my armor. And Satan went out to go and get it. Then he talks to the doctor. How does your patient, doctor? So he's talking about Lady Macbeth. And Macbeth sounds detached, almost careless. The doctor has been in the room for quite some time, and only now does he bother to inquire after his wife. The doctor answers, not so sick, my lord, as she's troubled with thick coming fancies that keep her from her rest. So she's not physically, but mentally sick. She's troubled by delusions that prevent her from getting enough rest or sleep. And then Macbeth just simply say, but cure her of that. Can't thou not minister to a mind deceased? Can you not cure a deceased mind? So he wants a cure that makes one forget. He is aware that Lady Macbeth is tormented by guilt. Well, he seems to be referring to his own guilt-ridden mind too. And he goes on, pluck from the memory of a rooted sorrow. So take away the memory that is fixed or implanted, so deep-seated. So it's a deep-seated sorrow, a deeply implanted grief. Take that away. Make her forget about that. Raise out the written troubles of the brain. So rub out or erase the troubles which have been fixed in the mind. And with some sweet, oblivious antidote. So give her a medicine that makes her forget. Cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart. So he wants a medicine that can remove the terrible memories and sorrow from a mind and heart that is distressed and overburdened with guilt. Again, this makes you wonder, is he only talking about Lady Macbeth and not maybe referring to himself too? And then the doctor answers, therein the patient must minister to himself. Now he says, no doctor can heal a sick mind. The only person that can do that is the patient himself. So the doctor senses that Macbeth might refer to his own state of mind too. And take note, the use of the word himself. We all know Lady Macbeth is the patient. He didn't say must minister to herself. So the suggestion is that Macbeth too must find the cure to his own disease. And then Macbeth answers him, he says, throw physic to the dogs, I'll none of it. So he angrily rejects medicine, the art of healing, saying that he will have nothing to do with it. And then Satan enters with the armor. So Macbeth talks alternatively to the doctor and to Satan. So showing how distracted he is. His behavior has become completely irrational as a result of his anxiety. Come, put mine armor on, give me my staff. Now, staff is a baton or a lance. It's a symbol of a commander's position and authority. So Macbeth is preparing to arm himself. Satan send out means send out a lot of soldiers, and then to the doctor again. Doctor, the thanes fly from me. Come, sir, dispatch. Quick, quick, quick. If thou could, doctor, cast the water of my land, find her disease, and purge it to a sound and pristine health. So he's using a metaphor where he says Scotland is compared to a sick man. Macbeth asked the doctor to examine the urine of the land to see what the sickness is. But ironically, Macbeth is the country's sickness. He's the cause of everything. So Malcolm will be Scotland's cure. He's the medicine. He can do so only by ridding the country of Macbeth. But here Macbeth asks, and purge it to a sound and pristine health. All right, get it back to its former health. I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again. So cure it and restore it to the original state of good health. If the doctor could do that, Macbeth promised that he would never stop praising him. And then to Satan, pull it off, I say. So now poor Satan has to take off the armor again. He probably fitted incorrectly. So his anxiety about the state of affairs causes him to talk in an agitated and irrational way. And then he goes on again to the doctor. What medicine would cleanse Scotland of the English forces? And then the doctor says, aye, my good lord, your loyal preparation makes us hear something. Your preparation for war is something to look at, to listen to. And then again, he talks to Satan. Bring it after me. That's now, he must follow him with his armor. I will not be afraid of death and bane. I'm not afraid of destruction and ruin. So a repeat of the witch's promise till Burnham Forest comes to Dunsinane. He need not fear being killed or destroyed until Burnham Forest comes to Dunsinane. And then all leave except the doctor. And the doctor then says, were I from Dunsinane away and clear, profit again should hardly draw me here. So having knowledge of all the evil the Macbeths are guilty of, he wishes himself to be far removed from Dunsinane. Not even the desire for money could bring him back. So doctors were believed to be very greedy, but not even that was enough. Act 5, Scene 4. Malcolm and the Scottish thanes have reached Burnham Wood. Malcolm orders each soldier to cut off branches from Burnham Wood to carry in front of them, so that it will be difficult for Macbeth's scouts to estimate the size of the army. Right, this scene presents the union of the English forces with the Scottish lords near Burnham Wood. The forces of good then marches up against the forces of evil, which is Macbeth's army. Malcolm orders the soldiers to cut down branches to hold in front of them in order to conceal the real numbers of the army. This points to the fulfillment of the third apparition's prediction. Now, if we have to look at the contrasting attitudes, Macbeth and his forces seem to be in complete disarray, losing control as a result of the promise of the witches. Macbeth did not really prepare properly for war. He believed himself to be invincible, so it wasn't necessary. And then Malcolm and his forces are calm and collected and in control and fully prepared. Now Malcolm Seward and his son Macduff, Menteith, Caithness, Angus, Lennox, Ross, and the soldiers are all marching. Malcolm starts with, cousins, I hope the days are near at hand that Chambers will be safe. So he refers to, he says that he hopes it will happen soon, that everyone will be safe in their bedroom without the fear of being murdered. And a reminder of the word chamber, bedroom, is that Duncan was murdered in his bedroom while he was sleeping. And then they just go on, we doubt nothing. What wood is this before us? The wood of Burnham. And then Malcolm, he proves himself to be a natural leader, resourceful, and a strategic soldier, said the following. Let every soldier hew him down a bow and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery ere in report of us. So every soldier must cut down a branch and carry it in front of him as camouflage. And this way they will conceal the numbers of their army, and Macbeth's spies will report incorrectly on the size of the army. Right now, appearance versus reality is the theme here. It would appear as if the Birnam Wood was moving and walking towards Dunsinane Hill, but in reality, it was the soldiers that cut off the branches and held it in front of them as camouflage that was moving towards the castle. And note the third apparition's prediction. Birnam Wood is indeed coming to Dunsinane. And then Seward says that they heard that Macbeth remains in the castle and will not oppose their laying siege to it. He believes in his castle's strength and to withstand a siege, and he clings to the apparition's predictions. Remember that. And then Malcolm is just saying, as soon as they see an opportunity, his subjects of all ranks have left him to join the revolt against him. That's now against Macbeth. He has no followers except those who have been forced into his service, but their hearts are not in the fight. They fight unwillingly or half-heartedly. So Macduff here, in contrast with Malcolm, remains practical-minded and cautious. He says they must wait for the final outcome of the battle to see if their opinions and judgments are accurate. In the meantime, they should make all necessary arrangements for battle and concentrate on fighting well. Right, and now old Seward ends the scene with the following. He supports Macduff's way of thinking, of not being over-optimistic. The time will come when they will be able to determine their gains and losses. Meantime, guesses are not certainties. More speculation about the outcome will gain them nothing. The actual fighting must judge whether they've been successful or not. Therefore, they should start the attack on Dunsinane. Malcolm has grown into a fine leader, and we can be sure that Scotland will be in safe hands once more when he becomes king. He's not as gullible and trusting as his father. His clever strategy to conceal the size of their army is very effective. Right, that concludes Act 5, Scene 3 and Scene 4. Tomorrow we are going to continue with Scene 5, 6 and 7. I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did. Have a wonderful afternoon. Be safe, make wise choices. Goodbye.